Well, there I am. Took me a second. Good morning. Hearing. It is such a vital part of our lives. It's kind of an understatement, isn't it? We utilize our hearing for everything from even before the start of our day sometimes, because they say that hearing is one of the first things that engages before you wake up in the morning, and one of the last thing that engages as you go to sleep at night. And throughout the day, what we hear, both ambient and active, is just a part of how we operate. Now, obviously, for people who are hearing impaired, that provides an entirely different element to their lives. But for many of us in our work settings, in our activity settings, and just in engagement in day-to-day life, what we hear and how we go about hearing is vitally important. So today, we're going to be talking about that a little bit with an expert, someone who's an expert on acoustics, an expert on sound, has worked as an engineer, and he's going to be talking to us, and we're actually going to demonstrate a new technology, revolutionary technology, that is bringing hearing safety and hearing health to an entirely new level. So, with all of that said, put on the brakes, grab a cup of coffee, and join the conversation, because it is time once again for Coffee Breaks with Steve. Good morning and welcome to Coffee Breaks with Steve. I, of course, am Steve. And let's see, I just want to say a quick hello to some people who are already tuned in this morning. Kathy, Kimberly, Jerry, thanks for being here. And I know a number of you are joining in either on Facebook Live or YouTube. Please, if you are, please say hello in the chat, and make sure that once we get into our topic today that you're engaging in the conversation, because this is your conversation. You're an active part of this. And you can pay attention to or ignore what moderator Kat is putting in the chat. But we want you to engage in the conversation today. And I want to welcome all of you. If you're tuning in later, maybe you're not watching live, but you're tuning in later to check out the show and check out the topic. I just want to thank you as well for tuning in. And you can also engage in the chat, and you can follow up on Facebook and or YouTube, as well as the podcast sites where the show goes out, and participate in everything that we do. All right, I want to get to some special days. We're going to talk about some things that are coming up in the next week, and I know I can tell already by the way I'm concentrating today that I'm going to need plenty of coffee. So you're going to have to help me make sure I get enough to drink. Did you know that today, July 1st, by the way, is it amazing that we are now halfway through this year? It's July. We're in July. We're halfway through 2023. And literally before you know it, we're going to be talking about 2024. I don't even know how to relate to that. But today is Creative Ice Cream Flavors Day. What do you want to include in creative ice cream flavors? You go to some of the ice cream places that provide multiple flavors. You know, there's the brand name that we all know that provides 31 flavors, and you go in there and there are some creative flavors. If I'm honest, I tend to go towards certain basic flavors that are my favorites, but there are some creative flavors out there, and there are probably places that beyond the common chain ice cream places that serve even more creativity. Do you have a favorite creative ice cream flavor? And I guess that what's creative is up to you. But if you've got a favorite creative ice cream flavor, share it in the chat. Hi, Rick. Good to see you here. And moderator Cat is active. Catnip flavored ice cream. That would be interesting. I wonder if cats would actually eat that. July 2nd, this was an important one, I think, to bring up, especially as we are in this time of year. But there is actually a day called National Wildland Firefighter Day. It's a day to recognize, to acknowledge, to make sure that we're aware of and supporting the people who work in both. There can be local, regional, and national firefighting organizations and companies that provide the coverage and are out there on the front lines, literally, when wildfires occur. I know people who actually work for some of the state and federal firefighting agencies, and it's always a concern to me when I'm aware that there are these massive fires going someplace, and knowing that they're bringing in these wildfire fighters from all over the country in many cases to be out there in very difficult conditions. So let's remember, not just on July 2nd, but throughout the season when that we're in right now, when wildfires are more prevalent, but really throughout the year, because these people, when they're not out there on the front lines, many of them are training year round. They're working for other agencies, and they're among those first responders and frontline workers who are putting their lives on the line for our safety and protection, the protection of our wildlands. So let's remember those. The third, I like this one, National Compliment Your Mirror Day, which, when you come down to it, what that means is we look at ourselves in the mirror typically every day. Some of us may avoid it at certain times, but we do look at ourselves in a mirror typically several times a day. We pass them, we glance at ourselves, we look at them when we're preparing ourselves for the day ahead. Sometimes when we're finishing the day and we're looking at the bags that have formed under our eyes from a tough day, but we look in the mirror and what do we see? And sometimes we're not real happy with what we see. This is a fun idea. And I was reading up on this, where did this National Compliment in Your Mirror Day come from? But the fun idea is, when you look in the mirror, look at that reflection and say something positive to that reflection, because we need to lift ourselves up sometimes. And sometimes we're not thrilled with that, with what we see in that reflection, but it's worthwhile to take some time to just think on the positive side about ourselves, right? Kathy Garlick, if my mirror wants a compliment, it needs to do a better job. Hey, give it some encouragement, Kathy. Lift it up. All right, we know what Tuesday is, right? Tuesday is Independence Day, the 4th of July. It is the day that we celebrate that on July 4th, 1776. I'm not going to go into all the details about how the Second Continental Congress actually passed the resolution for independence 2 days prior. This was the day they actually confirmed and put on the document that was written up. And it's the day that we celebrate, July 4th, 1776, the date that this nation declared its independence from Britain and propelled us forward into all of the things that we deal with now, good, bad, or otherwise, as a democratic republic. But we've gone through a lot of growing pains, and we'll continue to go through growing pains in this country, but we celebrate. I'm curious about what your plans are to celebrate on the 4th of July. Do you get the day off? Some people in their jobs do have to work on the 4th of July, but many people have that as a holiday. Some people even get both Monday and Tuesday off. And I'm just curious, if you got the long weekend, if you're traveling someplace, if you're just going to take some time on Tuesday to do some celebrating, what does that look like? How do you typically do that? Today is Canada Day. See, Kathy mentioned that today is also Canada Day. When I look up these special holidays, it's a tough choice, because oftentimes I could have multiple ones for a given day. In fact, one of these times we should just spend one entire episode just going through special days. But yes, today is also Canada Day. If you are Canadian, if you're from Canada, if you live in Canada, enjoy the celebration today. Wednesday, National Graham Cracker Day. I grew up on graham crackers, and one of the reasons I think that we probably celebrate graham crackers this time of year, what is one of the key things, especially during the summer months? What is one of the key things that graham crackers get used for when we're camping, when we're just outside celebrating with a barbecue, that type of thing? No, it's not catnip, Moderator Cat. That's right, s'mores. We make s'mores. Moderator Cat, if you want to put catnip in your s'mores, you're more than welcome to do so. I don't even know why I'm acknowledging his comments right now. But National Graham Cracker Day is July 5th, Wednesday. Stock up on those honey grahams and start making your s'mores. Make sure you got the chocolate bars and the marshmallows and whatever else you put on them. Catnip. And then another staple of much of our outdoor picnicking and activity in the summer months. July 6th is National Fried Chicken Day. Do you have a recipe for? Some people aren't into doing the fried foods, but they've got alternatives. And, now they've got these air fryers. You don't have to use grease. You can still make a lot of foods. I haven't tried to make fried chicken in an air fryer, so I'm not sure how that works out. But curious about whether you're a fried chicken person. Do you like to just go down and let the colonel provide it for you? Do you have your own recipes for fried chicken? And how is that with your summer picnicking and eating? Potlucks. I've never been to a potluck or a picnic where fried chicken hasn't been part of the food fare. It just is always there. And then the seventh, we can't ignore chocolate. Sorry. I know not everybody is a chocolate fan. I don't understand that, but World Chocolate Day, that means everywhere in the world we're celebrating chocolate and eating chocolate if we choose to do so. I just think that isn't that a great day to just think about chocolate for every meal? We went on a cruise a number of years ago, and my kids will remember this, that one night on the cruise, they had an entire chocolate buffet late at night. Everything out there was either dipped in chocolate, made of chocolate, covered in chocolate. It was kind of like walking through Willy Wonka's factory. You know what I'm saying? Chocolate, World Chocolate Day. Oh my goodness, go on and on about that, and I have to put a stop someplace. I did not personally have any birthdays on my calendar, anniversaries, or other special days for people on here, but if you have a special day this week and I missed it, first let me extend my humble apology for being a fool and not knowing it already. But would you put that in the chat so that we can make sure that we are celebrating that with you? And if you've got a special day coming up in the month of July, you can email that to me at cbwsteve@comcast.net. You can also private message me if we're connected on Facebook, but get that information to me so I make sure I get it on the calendar, get it on the schedule, and that we remember to acknowledge you when it is your time for that. All right, listen, I want to get to our topic today. And the first thing I'm going to say about it is you may notice that I'm wearing something that if you're a regular viewer of Coffee Breaks with Steve, you don't typically see this kind of device on me. Or you may go, oh, gosh, I haven't really paid that much attention to the devices you wear. But I am wearing something special today. Just a moment. I told you I was going to need a lot of coffee today, and I have not been following through with that. A device that I'm wearing is something that is really somewhat revolutionary. You're going to hear more about how revolutionary it is. I shouldn't say somewhat, it is quite revolutionary. And it is a technology and a device whose purpose is really to provide both hearing protection and situational awareness, which means protecting your hearing, but also being able to hear for safety and convenience the things around you that you need to be able to hear. And there are a number of devices that have come out in the market in recent years that provide some or all of that. There's more to it with this device, and we're going to hear about it. Let me introduce the expert who's going to be joining us to talk about it today. A touring musician turned recording engineer and producer, Rob Roy, has produced records with legendary producers and engineers like Tony Bon Jovi, Ron St. Germain, and Charlie Colello, working with artists such as Scott Stapp, T-Pain, Nico McBrain, Jesse James Dupree, Morgan Rose and John Connolly, Joey Kramer, Doug LeBon, Kenny Olson. I'm getting through all of these. And by the way, if you're not familiar with who all of these people are and who they're associated with, go back and replay this and look them up. I'm not reading all of the bands and all of the groups that they're associated with, but it is stellar. Joey Kramer, Doug LeBon, Kenny Olson, Deana Martin, the Four Seasons, the Philly Pops Orchestra, I'm going to need coffee, as well as engineered audio for TV and movie productions such as MTV's Road Rules, NBC's The Voice, CBS's Undercover Boss, and various feature films. Over the past 2 decades, Rob has earned numerous gold and platinum records and is also credited with producing and engineering a plethora of up-and-coming local and unsigned artists. In the mid-1990s, Rob joined forces with Bon Jovi Entertainment to help develop and launch opportunities in the artist, production, and management sector of the entertainment industry. Beyond songwriting, engineering, and production, his focus was developing tactful funding and production opportunities for various artist development projects. In 2001, Rob designed and built Power Station Recording Studios in Pompano Beach, Florida. He adopted the same acoustic design pioneered by Tony Bon Jovi at the legendary Power Station Studios in New York City. Power Station in Pompano Beach recently celebrated the 20th anniversary of its first recording session. In 2002, Rob co-ventured to help develop and launch Bon Jovi Acoustic Labs, whose technology today accounts for over 50 patents and has technology licensed into several markets, including automotive, marine, aviation, consumer electronics, safety, artificial intelligence, and medical applications. His expertise in audio and acoustics was recruited by the government of China to consult on their government-controlled broadcast TV network, GGEC, and help them develop a world-class process to deliver true-sounding mixing on their limited broadcast networks for their live, top-rated hit TV shows. Additionally, Rob is a contributing author for the published medical study, non-pharmacologic pain management among hospitalized inpatients using virtual reality in 4 published studies, and currently participating in a study using sound to treat Alzheimer's disease. Rob's current daily focus, because obviously he has a lot of time on his hands, is the Power Station Studios, and he also co-manages the launch of Bon Jovi Acoustic Labs' first manufactured product launched under their Clear 360 brand, the Clear 360 Pro, which, by the way, is the device I'm wearing right now, which is a next-generation hearing protection wearable with 360-degree situational awareness and communications. There's obviously a ton here that we could be unpacking, and we're going to unpack as much as we can with Rob today as we talk to him about this amazing technology. So please join me in welcoming to Coffee Breaks with Steve, Rob Roy. Rob, I almost ran out of breath going through your credentials. And
you make me sound so much more important than I really am.
Earlier, when I stepped out of the room and came back, and I got to double check my hearing capability here. So give me just a second.
While you do that, I'm going to refuel myself because I came prepared with my cup of coffee as well.
We're going to try it now. Talk to me again here, Rob, and see if I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we're gonna clear up our technical difficulties. It's not on Rob's end. We know it's on my end, and it was an issue that we encountered a little bit earlier. And I'm gonna try to make it go away. I'm just gonna invite you to say hello and talk to me for a minute here, Rob, and see if I get this cleared up.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be there. As I said, I brought my own cup of coffee here. I came prepared so I can fuel up.
That's excellent, and thank you, and thanks to everybody else for your patience here for a few seconds there while I got myself fully reconnected. Rob, you know,
I didn't do it. You can't prove anything, and I'm sticking to it.
And that's usually my excuse too. Your credentials and your background and your professional expertise and experience in all these fields is a bit intimidating almost, I think, to the layperson, but it's obviously covered a broad range of areas having to do with acoustics and sound producing, music producing, sound management. How has that experience and your professional background kind of helped you think in terms of some of the newer technology, and why has it made for you hearing protection and safety an important thing?
Well, let's first get off the bandwagon here. I'm still that 10-year-old kid jumping up and down on the bed playing air guitar. That's still me today. Let's make no bones about it. But yeah, I mean, I got my start in the music business. I started as a musician. I went to school for music. I'm a classically trained guitar player. Then I got bit by the rock and roll bug and chased the dream of being a rock star. And, in doing so, I made the trip from the artist side of the glass in the recording studio to the engineering side. And I kind of cut my teeth there and just kept developing myself and working with people. And, one of the mantras I always had that kind of got me where I was is pun on the subject today, but I have 2 ears and 1 mouth. I listen twice as much as I speak. I promise that won't be the case today, but another situation. But, the engineering side in music really opened up a lot of doors. And, as our founder, Tony Bon Jovi, he took me under his wing and, honestly kind of made me who I am today, along with my other big influences. You mentioned Ron St. Germain is one of my career, my bio. He's one of my mentors and so on. But the thing that I realized is that, coming in as a musician, the guys behind the glass doing all that magic there, what we call a recording engineer today, in the early days was an electrical engineer. So you take sound, you take light, and you take electricity, and they're very similar in how their adaptation into how they, it just waves through air. So getting into that engineering discipline and really kind of learning the engineering and the science of it brought me into, a lot of different disciplines, including acoustics, with building studios and things like that. But, the technical side and the mechanical side and the electrical side of it really fascinated me. And, as Bon Jovi Acoustic Labs was developed, it was based off of an initial concept and technology that Tony had invented. And then we formed this company and brought it into the digital world and then proliferated it into many different areas of business. Our first entrance was automotive. Basically, how do we make a little roller skate car with 4 little crappy speakers? And the only upgrade you got at the time was, then it was a CD player. That was it. But we ended up figuring out ways to make those 4 speakers outperform these 15 speaker, upgraded systems using just software and electrical technology, interpreted as software. So then that went into consumer electronics and then went into marine. And in aviation, we created the speakerless systems that all the trim panels, they take all the speakers out and the trim panels become the speaker. So it's a complete immersive sound experience using just materials that are already there. And then we had a medical application. We had partnered with many doctors. We created our own little forum group of doctors and physicians and medical rock stars. There's about 400 to this group. And when you get a crazy guy like me that just knows how to break things and fix things and, do some cool stuff, what ends up happening is you pair somebody like me with a doctor who has a very focused specialty, and I start intriguing them and they start kind of collaborate on some ideas. And they're like, I would love to be able to do this. And I'm like, oh, we could do this. Or one of the other engineers, or we have a team of engineers that are just amazing group of guys and gals. And we all just kind of sit there like, well, we could do that. And we're problem solvers. They have a problem, we solve it. And that's kind of how it just, went into this. The medical side of things really, really fascinated me. One of the things that you'd mentioned in my bio that I'm on is I'm working on a study using sound to treat, a cure for Alzheimer's. Mm-hmm. So, those things really fascinate me because it really makes me use my sound audio gifts in a completely different way. Because again, I'm still that kid. I'm jumping down on the bed playing air guitar with a tennis racket. But, all this knowledge gets to be put towards good. And as a business developer, as a producer, you always got to have a good product, and to have a good product, you have to have a good process, but everything's really about people. Mm-hmm. And I've always been able to connect with people. And I think I learned that being a record producer and trying to get the best out of an artist, that just translates into the science side of sound and in the medical areas where, medicine is about helping people. So I gravitated to that quickly. And, I was on this other study with Baylor University out in Austin, Texas, about doing studies for pain management, PTSD, and medication, those that are addiction therapies.
Yes.
using distraction therapies like virtual reality. And one of the problems that they had is by creating these scenarios that the patients would wear in this VR world to treat their anxieties and disorders, they weren't having much success because the human ear, or the brain, human brain rather, if what you hear and what you see don't match up, the brain's not buying it and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So one of our doctors was part of this study, and he's like, I'm working with a bunch of these guys out here in South Florida that, maybe they can help us. So they came to us, and we were developing products for, stethoscopes, remote, what do you call it? What doctors are telemedicine, stethoscope,
Right.
diagnostic tools for telemedicine. And we were working on stuff for carotid artery testing and bedside swallow tests and all of these cool things. And they're like, do you think you could do something to help this situation? And now you're getting back to our wheelhouse in terms of production. It's like, okay, let's look at the problem. So, look at us as humans. We hear 360 degrees, up, down, sideways, up and down, backwards. We hear everything. You hear a sound over here, you know exactly where it's coming from. And that's because of the anatomy of the ear. So it's like, okay, well, you're having a problem with the brain not believing what it hears and not believing what it sees because what it hears isn't right. So it's like, well, let's figure out why that is. So we recreated the human analog of the human ear in a device to where we can actually create sound localization very accurately. So we we literally made a 3D printer of a set of headphones and put this technology in there in an infancy, proof of concept kind of form.
Yeah.
And then we went out there they were doing the filming, and you can't put microphones everywhere because the 360-degree virtual cameras pick all that up. So the camera operator that was in the scene just put the headphones on, and all of a sudden, what you saw in that film, if you saw a little bird fly, across the horizon, you heard the bird fly, and your ears could track it all the way around like you would in human real life. So we kind of put that together, and all of a sudden, the statistics of efficacy just jumped from their studies, where they were getting very low results and weak results to very high results. Yeah. And that was kind of what walked into this hearing enhancement and protection device called the Clear 360 Pro. But the science is really, to answer your question, the science side of it is what really intrigued me to get into these things.
That's amazing. And it occurs to me that, it's so typical, Rob, when you think about it, that how many times does technology that starts with one focus in mind become something? I mean, any new development, any new invention, how many times in history have we found that something that may begin with an interest or a focus in one area, as it develops, the breadth and the depth of its usefulness, its efficacy, its, how it can benefit in so many different areas becomes more and more evident. And I can see already, we're going to get more into the specific details.
Or you try to solve this problem, and by accident, you create a solution. I mean, you look at the 3M Post-it note. That was never
exactly.
Post-it. That was supposed. I forget what it was supposed to be.
Supposed to be a new type of, I think, adhesive glue, and it was like, no, that failed. Wait a minute.
Yeah, and they chopped all that, and all of a sudden, born the Post-it note, and I wish I had that.
Yeah, right. But I think about the fact that even as I was beginning to test out for myself the use of the Clear 360 Pro and doing some background on it based on the information articles that have been written. And by the way, we will be sharing on my sites access to a number of the articles to the Clear 360 products website itself, and a variety of places where people can go after the show to find out more. We're going to share some cool opportunities by the time we get to the end of the show today. But as I was researching this, I mean, I saw some of the places and the situations, both in work settings and in hobby and activity settings, where this technology has tremendous effect and usefulness. And then my brain was going to other places already that I'm sure probably have been part of the discussion, but weren't necessarily a focus of some of the background information. And it's like, oh my gosh, This is next level. This is next generation. This is what needs to be happening to provide the protection for hearing for people who are working in environments where the decibel levels over time can cause that kind of permanent harm to hearing, but also at the same time provide the safety of that 360-degree situational awareness. And you've mentioned some of the applications in areas of medicine and even in industry, and we're going to get into more of that. But I think maybe even talk a little bit more, kind of going into a little more detail, because I did mention there are a number of products on the market. A number of us use the current types of earbuds that are available, Bluetooth earbuds that have the ability to be or we have headphones and noise canceling, or you can turn them on and you can hear you can hear what's coming at you somewhat from the outside. I can hear if someone's trying to get my attention. I can hear some background noise, but I can also filter out some noise or filter out all the noise. What makes the Clear 360 Pro different? You've alluded to some of the things, but let's go into a little more detail about why this is revolutionary.
Well, you got to look at where we approached this, and anytime, I always believe that a good product starts at trying to solve a real problem. And we with some of this technology that we're kind of utilizing, we were working with a company called Trimble, who is they're a massive construction technology company. They do a lot of technology development. They're very technology forward, and they're extremely innovative. And one of the problems that they were faced with is hearing protection. First of all, the problem is that hearing protection, not everybody wears it. I always joke, what's the best kind of hearing protection there is? Something that they'll actually wear.
Yeah.
So if they'll actually wear it, then it's a good one. That's first and foremost. But why do people not wear hearing protection? Well, they're not comfortable. They're not convenient. They cost, they're not cost effective. Climate's a big thing. You get big, over the ear things in the middle of the summer and they're cold of the winter. They stick to your head. You sweat. They take them off because they're not comfortable. And then communication is another thing. They don't wear them because they can't communicate. Part of this study, one of our doctors, Dr. Stan Phillips, he's the director of the South Lake Hearing and Tinnitus Center in Huntersville, North Carolina. One of his patients came in, young guy looking for hearing aids. And so, Dr. Phillips is like, well, why are you, someone like you, why do you have hearing aids at such a young age and a healthy guy? And he's like, I'm in construction. Well, what do you wear in construction? What kind of hearing protection do you wear? It's like, well, I don't wear anything. Well, why not? Because I got to hear what's going on, whether it's my saw or this, I got to hear these things. And if I'm all protected, I'm actually overprotected. I can't hear. So that was kind of the one of the bigger things. But also it's the loss of situational awareness. One of the other developers we were talking with when we're doing our field studies is they were having a problem with people getting struck by accidents, hit by trucks. The backup sirens, they can't hear them, or they can't hear where they're coming from. So the problem comes back to comfortable and effective hearing protection, paralleled with not only great situational awareness, but also communications. The communications thing is really important. Not just being able to, if you walk into a loud environment, you can't hear the person talking. What's the first thing you do? You pull your hearing protection out. Well, you're kind of screwed. Or if you got to take a phone call and you have earbuds or something, you take it out and take the phone call. So these were the problems that we were trying to solve. And a lot of productivity issues. We had a focus group down in a mine, and when the supervisor had to take a call because it was so noisy, everybody had to stop. All the workers had to stop while he takes the call, and then when he's done with the call, he can keep going. So, a way to be able to communicate while being able to hear and everybody continue to work. So productivity was a concern. So we set our way out to being able to do this. And again, there are other products out there. Here's the problem. A lot of people confuse, for example, say noise cancellation with hearing protection. That's not the case. While noise cancellation is good in certain environments, and most people can relate to on the plane, the rumble of the plane, or a baby crying. Static noise, active noise cancellation will cancel those things out. But what they can't do is they can't acclimate over different noises, different velocity of noises, and impulse noises. So what they can do, if there's a droning noise, it just flips it out of phase and it disappears. But if a big noise like a jackhammer, kaboom or kaboom, or a nail gun, kachish, kachish, or any banging or impulse noises, are those that are hunters and things like that, rounds from firearms and stuff. Noise cancellation doesn't help with that. A.
Right.
B. Noise cancellation, when worn for long periods of time. Let me speak from my own experiences. Is that noise cancellation headphones? If I'm sitting in an airplane static for a bunch of time, no problem. But if I'm up and down and I'm moving around, this is common, is you start to get like feelings of vertigo and dizziness. And a lot of times it can induce nauseousness. So that's not an effective technology necessarily in something like this. So we brought to the table the Clear 360 Pro that answers all of these things. We provide premium hearing protection. We also provide great communication. And I'll make a quick example. Like, so right now you're wearing the Clear 360, you have it paired to your computer. So the microphone in the Clear 360 is picking up your voice and the sounds coming back into your earbuds.
That's right.
Now I'm doing this podcast. I have an external microphone and external speakers. I have this thing on completely, but it's not paired and I can hear just fine.
Right.
I have my phone's actually paired to it. So I actually have it paired. So I could actually be listening to music right now, but because of the situational awareness, I can hear everything with I'm not wearing anything at all.
Right.
But the biggest thing is that with the situational awareness, you actually can hear all accesses and localized sounds from any direction. So it's natural. So it almost feels like you forget that you're wearing it. So you're always protected. You can always hear. So if somebody comes yelling fire down, I'll know exactly where it's coming from and I can hear it. And then, that's the situational awareness component of it. So, that's where we started focusing this on, was in safety environments for, manufacturing, construction, and solving those problems. And then it was, okay, how do you incorporate technology? Now, the last differentiator, there's a bunch of them, but last of the big ones is we also have what we call our patented speech intelligibility algorithms. These algorithms were actually developed for telemedicine. So when a doctor or a medical professional is dealing with somebody that's communicating from long distances over an app like your cell phone, they can hear the nuances of what somebody's saying. For example, one of the tests that they do is, are they saying 1.5 milligrams or 5.0 milligrams? That's something that's often, misunderstood because of the transmission, challenges with telemedicine. So we developed technologies to really bring the voice in so that you could, and also remember that the voice frequencies are very important in life.
Yes.
Those are the frequencies in which all the alarms, sirens and stuff, and even nature falls into those. A baby crying falls into that. So we are very focused naturally on those frequencies, and we understand that. So with our voice intelligibility technology, we can actually, you could be in a room of loud noise. Somebody can come up next to you. You can have a clear conversation with them in the midst of all kinds of noise and hear every word they say without taking your hearing protection out.
Amazing. Now we're going to, because you and I both already have them in, I'm not going to walk through. I considered the possibility of starting with something else and then switching to the Clear 360 Pro as we talked about it. And I thought, I was already having enough trouble making sure that everything was connecting right. I didn't want to go through all that rigmarole, but we're going to, again, share some of the places people can go to actually see YouTube videos where you walk through the fitting and everything else. But one of the things I noticed is that you talked about what's the best hearing protection. It's what somebody's going to wear and they're going to be comfortable wearing. And that was one of the first things I noticed in putting this on, is it's not intimidating or confusing at all. It's a very natural, intuitive process. I mean, you provide very clear instructions, both in terms of the guidebook that comes with it, the user's guide that comes with it, but also access to a variety of online YouTube videos and other things that make sure that people are fitting properly. And that's because one of the things that you don't want to be going, okay, I've had these things in my ears for a little bit. Now the inside of my ear is starting to hurt, which does happen with some internal earbuds. And I know some people, I know at least one person who's on here who has trouble because of past ear issues wearing internal earbuds. But the way that the foam attachments that go into the ears, and you provide different size ones. So if somebody's got a bigger ear canal or a smaller ear canal, and the process of getting those in there and the way that they expand and kind of fit to the ear makes it extremely comfortable. You hardly notice that it's in there, quite frankly. And then with the base device sitting around your neck, it's not like you're wearing something heavy over the top of your head or something else. It's easy to forget that it's there. And then I wanted to talk as well about, you were talking about situational awareness and what you can hear around you. The Clear 360 Pro has more than one mode for being able to hear what's around you. Do you want to talk about that for a moment?
Absolutely. So the Clear 360 Pro has 5 listening modes. And I'm actually going to parlay. I was reading the comments as they were coming. Kimberly made an interesting comment early on. I'm going to come back to Kimberly. So just to kind of review the different listening modes is listening mode 1 is what we call voice mode. And what that does, so first of all, you get a true 24 NRR noise reduction rating. So nothing comes back into the ears over 85 dB. So that is the NIOSH and OSHA. That's the lowest requirement, or the hardest requirement to meet. So nothing over 85 dB comes in. So you always have safe sound that's coming back in that you're hearing from the world around you. So as far as the sounds going in, our technology processes and manipulates the sounds in several different ways. So listening mode 1 is voice mode. Everything's brought down to 85 dB, but the focus is around the voice frequencies. So the voice frequencies are always dominant no matter what environment you're hearing. So if you're in a loud, if you're on a tarmac of an airport and you got planes and jet engines and stuff going on, you're always going to hear the voice. For example, if I have a two-way radio and I have the thing on my shoulder, I can still hear, I don't even have to pair it. I can still hear it, the voice frequencies over everything else. So that's voice mode. Now, listening mode 2 is kind of cool. We call this super hearing mode. Now, what it does is it brings the world closer in. So things that are far, far, far away, you can bring them in so you can hear things clear as day. Really interesting, there's a big application for that in recreational, say for hunters that are, say, up in a tree stand and out looking around the field for, if they're turkey hunting. I'm not a hunter, but, turkey hunting, you can hear the rustle in the bush, exactly where it's coming from. So it brings everything closer in. If you're for a recreational thing, if you're doing a tour, like a guided tour, you could put in the tour guide's way up front and you're way in the back. You could turn the volume up, put it into listening mode 2, and it brings that person's voice right nice and close. Another thing, if you're in bed late at night, and I can't say that I haven't tried this, but I have. I like to listen to TV at night. My girl does not. So I'll turn the TV really low. I'll put these on and put super hearing mode. I can hear it clear as day. Listening mode 3 is what we call natural mode. Now, this is like you're listening. It's as close to the normal human listening way as possible. So after a while, it's so natural and lifelike, you forget that you're listening, you even have it on. So everything sounds exactly like it would if you were wearing nothing. Mm-hmm. And then listening mode 4 is what we call comfort mode. So comfort mode is very similar to the natural mode. We just soften the edges off, like the highs and low frequencies, so things aren't so harsh. Before I get into listening mode 5, there's a couple other, some of the nuances. So listening modes 1 and 2, we call work modes and safety modes because they focus on the voice frequencies. Listening mode 3 and 4 are what I call the fun modes or the play modes. So this also becomes an amazing set of headphones for your device, because you could pair this to your device, your phone, and listen to music, listen to podcasts. You could actually listen to Coffee Breaks with Steve on your phone through your Clear 360, and it has all of our audio technology in it, so it turns into an amazing set of headphones. Now, let's take, for example, if you're a jogger and you're jogging along the street, there's cars coming up. You want to hear what's going on, but when you have your headphones in, you can't hear. So you listen to your music, you use your Clear 360, you can hear cars. If a car's coming too fast, you can hear it, get out of the way. So there's a lot of advantages to using this in a lot of different environments and sectors of the day-to-day life. There's also a lot of side things that will go in, like, because it is actually a hearing assist device. Mm-hmm. It assists in your hearing. We actually have part of this technology that we're adapting into treatment for autistic children. So I'll get into that part of it in a second. That's a whole thing. And then that'll also segue into Kimberly's comment. But then the last listening mode is what we call mute mode. So, for example, if I'm in a crowd of people and I get an important call that I need to focus on, I can hit mute. I can mute the world so I can concentrate on my phone call. And then when I'm done with the phone call, I hit the button and boom, everything comes back. And with each listening mode, we have volume control. So you can set the balance of your Bluetooth and the environment, so you can get different iterations, everything. So it's very, very flexible to be able to, be very effective in any environment.
That is fantastic. And again, I've tested all of those, and it's unique. I mean, I use other devices, have used other devices that are some of the typical Bluetooth earbud, listen to music, hear what's around you. There's not a comparison. There's not even a comparison to other technologies that are out there. You were going to mention Kimberly's comment and respond to that. I'll let you do that right now.
So yeah, earlier in the comments, Kimberly had mentioned about things like hyperacoustics. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So, and I'll start off with the autism. A lot of autistic children are sensitive to sound, which is partially the hyperacoustics. But with the Clear 360, especially in the comfort mode, you can back down the volume. It softens the world for you. So it makes it, those that have a reduced tolerance to sound and their surroundings, this becomes a tool to manage that. And you can dial in the different volumes of the world very easily. Now, with NRR, noise reduction rating, which is kind of the static noise level, we also have done extensive impulse testing, which most products don't post their test results. First of all, with NRR, that's a relative thing. And for those of you that don't know what NRR, that's the EPA's regulation for noise reduction rating.
Right. And
a lot of people, there's several lawsuits going on for inaccurate noise. You've probably seen them on TV, the military class action suits. It's because products were representing false NRR. So one of the things that we did with our Clear 360 Pro products is when we had these tested and we had our NRR evaluations done, we actually went to the lab that helped write the regulations for the EPA. The scientists that actually wrote the laws are the ones that did our testing. And we post those on our website at clear360products.com. So you can see the actual test results from the lab. So those that understand those tests, and a lot of people do, that this is a product for, especially safety officers and companies and stuff. But also we did what's called the IPIL, or the impulse test. Most people don't do these tests because they're not favorable. Our tests, we post those as well because we exceed most regulations, and we even exceed all military impulse testing. So, impulse is how many impulse noise or bangs that can you hear in the course of a day before you start getting hearing loss. And this product far exceeds anything else on the product. The other thing that this product exceeds that is because the localization. Most products that bring things back into so you can hear the environment, everything sounds like it's coming from the top of your head, and it's just not lifelike. This is a very lifelike experience. But to Kimberly's comment, this is something that might be worth trying, because if you're sensitive to even specific sounds, you could actually dial in some of the different volume settings or the different listening modes that could possibly help the situation. A lot of doctors and medical professionals are really getting involved and getting behind the Clear 360 Pro for a lot of medical advantages. Obviously, one, this is something that prevents hearing loss. The other thing, now I'm not a medical professional myself, and I don't make claims, but a lot of doctors, ENTs, otolaryngologists, audiologists, they're using this product to help treat patients with tinnitus or the ringing in the ears. Because when they wear this, the seal that it gives and bringing the sound back in, it actually helps with the ringing and minimizes some of the ringing. Loud noise exposure creates a lot of medical issues. It's a big contributor to high blood pressure, anxiety. It is also a big cause for Alzheimer's disease. Hence why I'm in some of these studies treating Alzheimer's. But it also statistically shows that the high suicide rates are contributed to people being in high noise environments. So a lot of these situations are being. The Clear 360 Pro is a positive product that helps in a lot of these different situations. And as a matter of fact, I'm working with a lot of ENTs and audiologists, bringing this product to their practice, and they're actually prescribing this for their, not as a drug or anything like that, but they're recommending this product to their patients right there in their offices.
Wow. I want to take we're already running over, and I know some of you may have to go. That's fine. We're going to continue. If you have to leave right now, we understand. You can come back and watch the remainder of this when you have time, because the recording will be available. And I do want to make sure that we aren't going too far over time today. But I want to talk just for a moment, Rob, about, you've mentioned some of the applications, some of the industries, or some of the areas of occupational safety where the Clear 360 Pro can be helpful. We talked a little bit about construction and airport tarmac and those types of things. And maybe just mention a few of those. You mentioned joggers and hunters. And I just think it may be worthwhile, because I know we have people who are either tuning in today or going to be tuning in later who are involved in some of the industrial areas or maybe even the recreational areas where this may be helpful. And probably as you've been watching this, folks, you're already picking up on some ahas. I've seen some things on here. Carissa mentioned people who work as engineers or sound people at rock concerts. For me, I think I mentioned in conversing with Gail Parento, who helped connect us. And so again, thank you to Gail for making sure that we knew about Rob and the Clear 360 Pro. But I was mentioning, when I go to church these days, the music time at the beginning of the church services anymore, and a lot of the more modern contemporary churches, sounds like a rock concert. I've taken out just my phone's decibel meter and registered consistent decibels over 100 during that time. And I've had to resort to wearing the little foam earplugs during the beginning of church services. But there are just so many different places. What are some of the key ones, just sort of providing a list of things for people to think about, Rob, where the Clear 360 Pro can be both helpful and maybe essential?
So, you hit on a big one, like loud concerts. I wear my Clear 360 to every concert that I go to. I get a lot of testimonials from people going to the concert where they can talk to the person next to them in the audience, and it actually is a better listening experience. So on the recreational side, another one that I on the airplane, using this on the airplane is a great a device to use for travelers. It's funny at the back to the concert things. We have a lot of crews that actually use this, the stage hands and stuff that use this, so they can go back and during their work and time while the concert's going on. We've had a lot of feedback from people at race events, like race cars and things like that, because it's so loud in the grandstands, or those that are lucky enough to be in the center of an oval race. But a lot of those, joggers, runners, obviously hunters, those that enjoy going to shooting ranges and things like that. Anything that has loud noise. And then as far as on the industrial side is, any manufacturing facility, construction, pavers, those that are, using hand tools, welding shops where you have hammers going, guys that are doing, jackhammers, literally anything that has a loud noise environment. People don't realize how loud the world really is.
Right.
And your average voice is about 60 dB, and the safe limit is 85 dB. So you're talking about a small little climb there, and then even just if I clap loud in your ear, that's well over 90 dB, up over close to 100 dB. A rock concert can be up to 120 dB. Gunshots can be 160 dB. So, we're getting way up there. Yeah. One other thing about this product that's really unique is most products that bring the world back in, when you have a loud impulse noise, it shuts it off completely. Now, the problem is that when I'm hearing loud noises and things like that's when I need to hear, especially in an emergency situation, and you're cutting everything out, that is dangerous. Right. So this thing will never cut out. It just limits anything above 85 dB. So that way, when these noises are going, if something's falling off the shelf and all these, you still can hear what's going on around you. So in any environment, especially anything that it's noise related, that you need situational awareness and to be able to communicate. Two-way radio.
Exactly. And I'm just going to throw out a couple of other things again for those who are listening who may be in professional environments where you're thinking about this. Now your wheels are turning about this. Many industries that involve these types of work settings also have, as part of the staffing, safety officers who have a responsibility for making sure that the workers in their settings are protected from the standpoint of that situational awareness for safety reasons, but also more and more workers' compensation claims come through because people have had long-term hearing loss or because an injury occurred because they couldn't properly hear what was going on around them. So if you work in an environment where there is a safety officer in your company, get this information to them. In addition, insurance companies deal with that when they are assessing the potential loss hazards for a company that they're looking to insure or are insuring. Most insurance companies have what are called loss control engineers who have a responsibility to assess and make recommendations. If you work in the insurance industry or you work with an insurance company, get this information to their loss control people, because that's going to not only provide more awareness of this technology, but it's going to provide better safety and better hearing protection in every one of those situations. And if you're involved in any of the activities that Rob mentioned or any others that you think of where you go, this could be beneficial for me. One of the things that Rob is making available, I'm going to try to put it in the comments right now. We shared, Gail was on here and shared, Gail Parento. And again, thank you, Gail. Shared the website. We showed it briefly. We're going to share that after the show on all of my sites and pages. But Rob is making available a special coupon code, and I want to complete the information here because I didn't put it all in. And again, I'll repeat this afterwards, but Rob is providing a special coupon code for Coffee Breaks with Steve viewers on the Clear 360 site for a $99.99 reduction in the price of the Clear 360 Pro by using the coupon code DPS. And so again, I'm going to provide that information afterwards, but thank you for that, Rob. And again, we've run quite a bit over, but I wouldn't have cut anything short. Rob Roy, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing this information. We're going to continue to share information about how people can get more info about the Clear 360 Pro. And I know you'll be able to come back in here even after the fact. If there were some things that we didn't reply to, Rob will have access to the chat afterwards on the Facebook and YouTube sites and be able to answer some of those questions. And this has been amazing. So I'm out of breath and still need more coffee. But Rob Roy, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
All right. Listen, I know we've run over time and some of you may in fact need to get off of here, but I can't let you go without sharing some exciting things that are coming up in the next few weeks on Coffee Breaks with Steve. Next week, we're doing a special episode. We've had a number of amazing guests over the last several months, and I've reached out to them, and a number of them have come back with updates about their projects and about the things they're working on. A few of them even submitted some little update videos. We're going to share those next week, and you'll get to hear about some of the filmmakers, authors, and others who have been working on certain things that you found fascinating on Coffee Breaks with Steve, and they're going to give you an update about what they're doing now and what the status of those projects might be. And then in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks from now, we're going to have an author, Kate McGovern, who is an author of young adult and older children's books, middle grade and young adult books. And she's going to talk about where her ideas have come from, her focus on education, her interests in teaching, a background and a focus on acting. We tend to have a lot of people who have been or are performers on here. And she also likes trains. So that may come up too, but that's going to be in 2 weeks. Then in 3 weeks, we're going to be meeting with a gentleman by the name of Sean Cullen Carroll, who is an entrepreneur who also himself got into acting at the age of 40 as a professional actor. But he's learned a tremendous amount of life lessons from his experience in business and in acting. And we're going to be sharing those with you. And I guarantee you're going to find Sean to be absolutely fascinating. And then in 4 weeks, the end of July, it's taken us all the way through the month of July. Sid Niemeyer is going to be here, a physicist who worked at the Lawrence Livermore Labs, and he's just written a suspense novel about the possibility of nuclear terrorism called A Dangerous Gamble. And Sid is going to be here to talk about his book and the status of that publication. If you have topics or guests that you think would be great to have on Coffee Breaks with Steve, would you let me know? You can reach me at cbwsteve@comcast.net and share your ideas. So many of the guests that we have and the topics that we bring up here on the show come from you. This is your virtual coffee table. And so I just want to encourage you to be part of the conversation, not just when we're on the air, but in helping me come up with great ideas for the show. And then I also want to remind you that we are on several podcast sites as well as on YouTube. And we just specifically ask you, if you're not already subscribed, to go to the YouTube channel for Coffee Breaks with Steve and hit that subscribe button. And if you're watching videos there, like the videos. What that does for us is increase the visibility of our channel and make sure that more and more people are seeing it and can tune in. And that means that people like Rob Roy and the other amazing guests we have on here are going to be reaching with their message to even more people. So I just want to thank you for doing that if you haven't already, and pass the word to other people in your network to go find the channel and tune in, because as you can see, these are messages and these are guests that more and more people need to hear about. Okay, listen, it's been a great time here again. We're going to be sharing a lot of additional information in the Coffee Breaks with Steve site. And see, I'm running out of steam. You can tell by the fact that I'm running out of words as well. But I just want to encourage you once again to continue to tune in, to continue to interact. And remember that in everything that you're doing every single day, and boy, learning about this technology brings it out again. As I remind you every week, please find a way to make a difference in your world this week. God bless you. Have a great week. Enjoy the 4th of July holiday. Be safe. And we'll see you next time.